newsrooms in Eugene, Roseburg, and Coos Bay. KVAL News at 5 starts now.
A drought emergency has been declared for parts of the state, including Douglas County. That announcement coming down earlier this afternoon from Governor Tina Kotek. Conditions include below average precipitation and high temperatures. Also included in that emergency are Morrow and Union counties. The declaration allows for additional resources to help with affected counties. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brandon Kamerman. Kendall Bartley is off tonight. Those conditions continue to heighten the risk of wildfires, and fires have been a problem today throughout our viewing area. This afternoon, a fire that started in a grass field near the Oregon Horse Center in Eugene off Prairie Road. It ended up spreading to wood pallets, leaving dozens of horses and their handlers in a panicked rescue to try and keep them safe. Nearby workers and owners working together to evacuate the horses to another barn on that property.
It was about 15 minutes of pure panic because the horses were freaked out and some were running loose, and a lot of the horses didn't know the people that came to handle them, and they were freaked out because the barns were filling with smoke.
A horse's worst nightmare is what one handler told us. Multiple agencies responded to that fire. It is now under control. Now, this comes after a huge fire this morning north of Albany at Creekside Valley Farms. The hay barn igniting in the middle of the night. Crews were dispatched right around 2:45 a.m. Jefferson Fire District quickly acted and kept the fire from spreading to other vegetation.
So they took a defensive mode right away on arrival. They knew that it would not be able to be extinguished, so we took a defensive mode to make sure that it didn't spread to brush, grass. Fortunately, the field around it has been plowed, so it has taken away that as a hazard as well.
Firefighters say this fire will be burning for several days. You'll likely see it if you are driving north on I-5 from the Lane County area. The cause of the fire is not known at this time. A fire marshal is investigating. Alan Matthews joining us now. And those fires, just a reminder of what we're dealing with, and the high temperatures, the lack of precipitation, that's going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, at least the good news for today is temperatures have been below average. We got a little bit more moisture, a little bit more humidity in the air, so that's some good news there. We're actually looking at a slight chance of rain this week, but as you mentioned, that heat is going to be returning. Let's show you what's going on right now, though. And temperature-wise, we're actually below average. In fact, a lot of the areas along I-5 not even getting to the 80s today. We're at 78 degrees in Eugene under a partly cloudy sky, a variable wind at 3, and that humidity level at 37%. Last hour was actually 40%, so again, a little bit more moisture in the air. Now, you may remember last week when we were seeing a lot of thunderstorm activity to the east and to the south of us. That's not the case today. Everybody looking at a relatively clear sky out there. And as we look ahead toward tonight and into your day on Tuesday, overnight temperatures will be in the low to mid 50s and those highs tomorrow in the low to mid 80s. So again, pretty close to average for this time of the year, but we're actually looking at the possibility of some rainfall as we get into Wednesday. The coast will see some fog over the next couple of mornings, and then, like I said, that heat will return. We'll break it all down with your full forecast in just a bit.
This is a war. We are at war. And that's why the gloves are off, and I say, bring it on.
Tensions over redistricting ramping up in Texas and now expanding to other states. Democrats in the Lone Star State are blocking the state's House of Representatives from moving forward with the controversial new redistricting map. The House failed to establish the quorum needed to do business today after dozens of Democratic lawmakers left the state to block a vote on that map. Many of the state lawmakers fled to Illinois and New York, where Democratic governors are now threatening to redraw their own state maps as payback. Texas's redistricting effort involves adding 5 new GOP-leaning congressional seats in Texas before the 2026 national midterm elections. Democrats accuse the state of partisan gerrymandering and say they'll do it right back. Republican Governor Greg Abbott is threatening to remove the Democratic lawmakers who fled the vote from office. He suggests they could be committing a felony by denying quorum.
It would be bribery if any lawmaker took money to perform or to refuse to perform an act in the legislature.
Now, it's not clear if Texas Democrats' efforts have been bankrolled by outsiders, but Oregon had its own experience with lawmakers leaving the state to avoid quorum. Republicans have held 8 walkouts since 2019, the most recent in 2023, when 10 GOP state senators sat out 6 weeks of the legislative session to combat a series of Democratic bills. Those senators were ultimately barred from running for re-election due to Oregon's passage of Measure 113, which penalizes state lawmakers for 10 or more unexcused absences. Eugene 4J set to lose roughly $5.5 million in state funding as a result of declining enrollment rates. With the 2025-26 school year just a little more than a month away, 4J is predicting having 500 fewer students than last year. The district gets around $10,900 in funding from the state per student. 4J's director of communications says the decrease in enrollment is due to declining birth rates and the price of housing in Eugene.
We're funded in Oregon on a per-student basis, so when you have fewer students, you get less money, and that means over time that you can provide fewer staff and do fewer things for students.
The declining enrollment this year will not affect the budget until the 2026-27 school year. The state, which provides the most funding for local school districts, will not penalize them right away, Kelly McIver said. Now, despite the expected cut, the district is making sure every student that walks into school this year will get the education and attention they need.